Okay. Okay, everybody ready? I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight to Township of Nipissing Council meeting Tuesday, June 4th at 6:30 p.m. I'll ask council if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing none. According to the agenda, we were supposed to go to committee reports, but we have the representative from HP Engineering on the line now. And I know he has a busy night with 2 stops tonight. So what we'll do is go to number 3 on the agenda. Final results of pre-inspection of Hummel Bridge and questions. So Tashi, the floor is yours if you're able to do it.
Yeah, I guess I'll just give a sort of a bit of a background or a bit of a story on the bridge. So I guess we were retainer. We've been doing the OSIMs, maybe not for Nipissing, but for a number of years now. I think Nipissing was just more recently we've jumped on board. But back in 2020, Dan had us doing. We went there and did basically a structural evaluation, updated load posting. So we did a pretty detailed investigation of the bridge. We actually had the divers go do underwater at the piers to take a look. And able to get under the bridge and do a thorough investigation. So, and then we did an analysis, and at that time we basically concluded that the current load posting, I don't know off the top, I think it's 17. It's a triple load posting. I don't know off the top of my head what the numbers are, but we confirmed that existing posting was still valid. So we left it as is. So that was in 2020, and then we would have done your OSIMs in 2022, so we would have inspected that bridge as well, albeit for an OSIM it's typically not as detailed, like we don't do a full hands-on and we don't typically put a boat on the water. That's sort of not standard. But when we were there, it didn't look much different in condition. It was still, well, not greatest, but it was still in a condition that we didn't warrant any additional investigations or any reduction in the load posting. And then this year, the township had asked us, it'd been sort of 4.5 years almost since we did the last investigation. So the township had asked us to sort of re-up the load evaluation, which is a similar level of effort from 2020. Now this time we didn't deem the underwater to be necessary, only because the submerged portions weren't in the worst condition in 2020. So we focused more on the top of deck and the underside. So we had the boat on the water as well this time, and that was done I think a couple of weeks ago. We were up north on another assignment, so we swung by on the way by. We had a boat with us. So, but this go around, so that bridge is a 3-span bridge. So the end spans are in similar condition. That's basically just steel girders, concrete deck, nothing much different, typical deterioration increase, but nothing alarming. But on that center span where the truss is, the truss itself is in very similar condition, nothing really alarming there. But what sort of triggered us to be more concerned was when we were under that bridge, so that the concrete deck is I'd say the majority of that bridge, it's sort of separated from the stringers. The stringers are sort of the longitudinal elements that run between the cross floor beams. So the deck itself, actually, you can see there was, 1 inch and a half gap in places of the concrete deck above the stringers and sort of separated. The deck had cracks in it that were previously sealed, but the sections are sort of displaced from each other. And, we were under the bridge, and the stringers are actually in pretty poor condition. We were able to see that a little better now that the deck had become detached, so the top flanges of the stringers were particularly rotting, and a lot of perforation. So, but the alarming was when a vehicle would go by, like that whole deck would sort of rattle and dust and debris would sort of fall down. So when a bridge gets to that condition, we wouldn't typically, there's no real evaluation necessarily. Like we wouldn't say, well, let's do some calculations. This is more of an engineering judgment. When it gets to that condition, is we sort of were alarmed enough. We thought, well, I think we need to close the bridge at this point. I know when we did it back in 2020, the idea was, this is sort of we should start planning now for either a rehabilitation or replacement. But I think we're at the point now where, yeah, we're confident with our recommendation if we don't close it. We did sort of contemplate saying, well, maybe we could post it at 2 tons, but it's a little bit risky in this case because I know, well, when we were there, I saw at least one vehicle that's clearly overloaded traveling the bridge. So the problem is with reducing posting, it's very difficult to control. And then there's still unknowns too, even with vehicles going over. You could get some localized issues, a deck failure or something like that. So we felt it best just to say, well, at this time we should close it and go from there basically. So now we did look at a couple options in 2020. There's no real quick and easy solution here. The sort of less expensive one would involve a sort of a deck replacement and steel repairs, replace the stringers, which is, I think I give Dan a couple of updated costs. These are sort of more or less ballpark costs. We didn't do any detailed estimates, but we're over $1 million. I think 1.2, 1.3, and then the only other option would be a full replacement, which is obviously considerably more expensive. But then you have a bridge of a much longer life cycle. So, so whatever options we had discussed in the 2020 report they're still on the table in terms of rehab. So. Or I guess the other option is close the bridge or close the road. That's always that's another option. We didn't really touch on that one, but that's not really one that needs much discussion. Short of that's more probably a township discussion point. So yeah, that's essentially what the history is, or at least our involvement in there. So.
Tashi, before you mentioned Dan in 2020.
Yeah.
But you were working for Powassan before that?
Yeah, because we've been doing well through Antoine from East Ferris. I think we've been doing the OSIMs for I can't remember how many years, but a number of years, probably since like 2010, 2011. So I'm pretty sure we do the Powassan one. So we would have expected that bridge with Powassan as part of their package already. I didn't actually go back and look at those previous reports, but yeah, it's because it's a shared bridge. So, but we hadn't started doing the Nipissing OSIMs until I want to say, well, it might have been the last cycle, which would have been 2022, might have been the first time we had done them. So.
Okay, and the life expectancy for that bridge was how many years?
When it was originally built?
Yes.
Well, I mean, now when we build bridges, you typically assume about a 75-year. That's the design life. Sometimes you get more, sometimes you get less. Back then, that bridge is in the early 1900s, like 1915, 1920 or something. It's an old bridge. My guess is back then probably would have been like 50 years. I don't know if there was an actual stated design life requirement back in those days, but yeah, now it's we consider it 75. It's supposed to be, well, that's not build the bridge and don't touch it for 75, but that's sort of the assumption when you're doing costing and maintenance and rehabs. You do 75 years, and that 25 and 50, you do typically a sort of more expansive rehabilitations, I guess. So
we were trying to look at numbers here. If you did a reinforced concrete deck,
yeah,
I'm just gonna go with Dan's numbers, 1,400,000. What would the life expectancy be for that?
Well, the problem with that bridge is that replacing the deck, I think we had come up with numbers, but the problem with that bridge is the truss is old. So there's no real rehab solution that you're going to get, not in our opinion anyways. Even if you did a full deck replacement, I mean, it's an old truss. The steel is, age fatigue. So we would probably, I think we had given you like a 15 or 20 years. So it's not, to me, that's not really it's not like you would get 50 more years out of it. It's just that bridge it's an old structure. So the deck, if you replace the deck, you're not going to gain a 50 years out of it. It's still a relatively short duration rehab. So,
So I think option A isn't an option.
Yeah.
Really.
What's that?
I said, so option A, that rehab really isn't a long-term option.
No, I mean, it buys you time, but I mean, I think if you look at sort of long-term costs, it's not really a good option because you're spending, almost half, well, you're spending about half as much money, but you're not really getting that much life out of it. I mean, of course, at if you said 15, 20 years, you could go back and re-inspect it and maybe gain more time, but then you're probably on board. Well, you're probably already on borrowed time, but it's one of those. It's an old bridge. That's just what it is, I guess.
So we're looking over the different options. Renewal option on number 2. that option had because there is a lot of, I'm gonna call it pedestrian travel there,
Okay.
but you and I know it's fishing from the bridge. A separated sidewalk would cost between 600 and 650,000. Does that sound approximately right?
Yeah, that's just a function of sort of surface area. When we had come up with those truss numbers, I mean, we had talked to a few suppliers who had done similar bridges, so it's kind of like that. They're good ballpark numbers. So yeah, it's you're adding, you know, you got a 60-meter or 50-meter long bridge, and you're adding a 1.5 to 2 meter wide overhang on it. So yeah, it seems, I mean, seems realistic, I guess, in today's market. But yeah.
And with the amount of traffic, approximately 150 trips a day or 75 round trips, in that case, would a single lane bridge be sufficient?
Yeah, I mean, a single lane bridge is always an option, in my opinion here, especially with the lower well, two things. One, lower traffic volume. Two, that current structure is single lane. So there's, you know, you could look at the roadway alignment and say, well, coming in on the, this would be the west approach, you're coming over a hill, but if it's signed properly, I mean, I don't see an issue. Some municipalities have a policy of not building single lane structures when they replace. They just say, well, we have, you know, 7 meters minimum width. But I mean, if you ask me, I would say a single lane bridge would be appropriate there for sure. That's, you know, if it's signed properly, the current users, they all know it's a single lane. This, you don't pass two vehicles on there. So
Okay. I'm gonna open the floor to the other counselors to see if they have any questions regarding the options or questions for you. I did have one more. I know you're gonna eat this later tonight. A question, could you put a Bailey Bridge over the existing structure?
you probably could not. I think even a single lane Braille, I think the narrowest one you can get is probably like a 12-foot roadway or something. But I'm guessing at that span you would need probably like a double single or something. But to leave that structure there and try to put a Bailey might be a little tricky because of the truss. Because I'm not sure if it would fit. Like you'd have to fit inside the truss. I mean, abutment wise, I think that rock is pretty shallow, so the foundations you could maybe do some piles on the approaches, but I'm not sure with the geometry of that truss that you could fit anything inside of it. I'd have to look at options because I don't know what Bailey's coming like, you know, single, double. It depends on the span. So at that span, you're probably looking at more than a single. You probably need a 2 wide Bailey there. I think I'd have to check their charts, but so I don't know that you could fit it in between the existing truss right now.
Okay, thank you. I'll open the floor to any counselors that have any questions. Just to add to this, I know you suggested maybe 2010 you started working on it. I know on the 2020 information that you gave us, we went to Toronto at that time to the Minister of, I don't know if it was infrastructure. Yeah, we went to the Minister of Infrastructure and we were turned down that time. But it looks like we'll have to try it again. So anyway, I'll open the floor to counselors. If they have any questions.
I would.
Yes.
Just as an aside, if we do decide to replace it, what is typically the construction time span? To do?
Well, for that, well, if we go, I think the replacement option we looked at, it was just a single span. So you're probably, I don't know, 3 months, 3-4 months. Having a prefab structure helps because you would remove the old structure. That's probably a month's work, getting rid of, chopping everything down, and then building up some new abutments, reinforcing. You're probably, I would guess probably 3 to 4 months is probably what you're looking at. Maybe you could do it quicker. It's tough these days. Things don't typically get built very fast anymore, but.
To go right. That's all.
Okay,
If they tried to go with the Bailey, what would be the time structure? How long would that last?
Well, I mean, if you put a Bailey, like a Bailey bridge is, I mean, you get like an acro panel, which is a Bailey. I mean, they're designed. You can put a Bailey there as a permanent structure. It used to be the Bailey bridge was considered temporary, but they're built like I think the company we typically, or it's Acro, I think is one of the companies that makes the Bailey is like I guess I don't know if it's a trademark name, but Acro makes, I think they're out of Texas, but they make those, they call it just modular bridges. I don't know. So they would last, that would be a 75-year solution. I mean, they're galvanized steel trusses with, well, you can choose the type of decking you want. You can have concrete, VPAN pave, VPAN concrete, steel decking, grading. There's all sorts of options, but they would be designed as permanent structures. They're not designed as a short life. There would be a 75-year structure. So.
but you don't think that would fit into our span?
Well, I don't think you could put a modular bridge with that. I'd have to look. I don't think you could put it leaving the old bridge there. I think you'd have to remove that truss as a minimum. So what I'm saying is the replacement option, yeah, was to remove the existing structure and at least cut the abutments down and stuff, and then build new abutments on the approaches, and then put a single span truss bridge. Which you call it a Bailey. We just the Jarrett was just a modular bridge, but they're still designed. They're just designed. They're 75-year structures. I just don't think you could leave the truss there and put a structure there in between it right now.
Okay, well, thank you. I guess we have some decisions to make, and you're going to talk to Powassan tonight, I believe.
Yeah, I think they have me scheduled for a similar presentation for 7, I think. So yeah.
Okay, so we'll give you time to catch your breath. So I don't think we have any more questions, and we will move on and discuss where we hope to go with this. And then we'll be sending a resolution to Powassan to see if they will agree and go for the same thing that we want. So Tashi, thank you ever so much for your time tonight. I appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hopefully everyone has a good evening, and yeah, well, I'm sure we'll be in touch. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Because we still have, I don't think anybody here is here to hear the minutes of the meeting from May 28th. So I think we should continue and do resolution 4. And we can debate that openly, whatever. We've got one resolution made, but it can be
I have a blank
changed.
one too.
And we've got an open one. Just from their comments.
I think we're gonna have to look at doing a new bridge, a single span. I don't think we should be putting walkways on it. We're just inviting trouble if we do that. That's my opinion.
Fishermen will not appreciate that, but I said it's a bit like road hockey. When the car comes, you move your net. So when you look at how many thousands of dollars, 600,000 to 650,000 for the walkway.
That's 18% tax increase right there.
Right.
So
So I agree. I think we look at, it would be renewal option 2, which would be structure replacement, single span, single lane prefabricated steel truss superstructure, new reinforced concrete abutments. Estimated cost 3 to 3.2 million. But again, the floor is open. When you look at it, as you pointed out, it works out to 26,000 a year versus 33,000.
Ownership cost, yeah.
And then versus in 15 years, you're back to the Yeah, maybe, if it lasts that long.
Right.
Get back to the same thing. If we apply for the grant or however we're gonna do this or what we think,
We have to.
yeah. If you include that piece and then they say no, then you can take it out.
Usually you don't get two chances.
No.
They're gonna give you
Okay.
one chance and we're gonna go all in.
Yeah,
I don't wanna gamble
no,
on the walkway if,
no.
you know,
Okay, I was saying.
Yeah. if we had a chance to negotiate,
Yeah.
this meeting's gonna be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's all they're gonna give us.
Yeah.
And we have to make our case. And last time, we didn't, you know,
Yeah.
we went to Toronto and tried it, but we have spoken to the Minister of Infrastructure 2 weeks ago. We're meeting with our MP on Friday, MPP, pardon me, on Friday. And we'll see if he's on board and we'll take him what we have. And then I don't know when the meeting is in August. But that's where we will do our delegation then. So
They typically tell us what the meeting time is, right?
they'll tell us the time. I'm just,
Yes, they
I'm not sure.
give options for AMO for the delegation. They gave options, but I just checked whichever one was available to make sure we get in, hopefully with the Minister of Infrastructure.
and the dates for those were,
And the date for the AMO conference begins on Sunday, August the 18th, and it ends on the 21st.
so it'll be the 19th or the 20th.
Yeah.
Of August.
Talk to Anthony at our federal partners, like they've been giving out money.
It's the provincial government that for the Minister of Infrastructure, she was just speaking about, they just added a great deal of money to the pot for the infrastructure renewal grants.
Yeah.
And that's what we would be applying under, and this would hopefully just give us a leg up.
Infrastructure, they just added $1 billion to that fund.
Yeah.
So that's the fund we're going after.
But it hasn't been announced yet.
No.
So we'll be ready. We'll have shovel ready, whatever. So
And the president of FNOM said he would gladly sit in our corner to negotiate this,
So I need a mover and a seconder, and then I'll read the Councilor Yam, Councilor Foot. It's number R 2024-128, moved by Councilor Yam, seconded by Councilor Foot. Whereas HP Engineering conducted an inspection of the Hummel Bridge on May 22nd, 2024, submitted a report dated May 28th, 2024, recommending the bridge be closed to all vehicular traffic at this time. And whereas renewal options were provided within the same report, now therefore the council of the Township of Nipissing supports renewal option 2, structure replacement with single span, single lane prefabricated steel truss superstructure supported on new reinforced concrete abutments, total estimated cost $3,200,000. And that this resolution be circulated to the municipality of Powassan for support. And that staff requested delegation with the Minister of Infrastructure at the 2024 Association of Ontario Municipalities Annual Conference to present a funding request for this project. Comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. That's it. So those of you that are here, that's what we're gonna attempt to do. We have, as I mentioned, in 2020, we went and made a similar presentation, but we also included the Butterfield Bridge. And we're not sure if it was because there was 2 bridges, but we were turned down before we even left the meeting. We have since talked to the minister 2 weeks ago, suggested that we had our information, they could just give us the money right then. And she pointed out that it doesn't work that way and suggested that we could make a delegation in Ottawa on August 19th or 20th. I'm hoping Mayor McIsaac will join me. I know Councillor Kirky is the other representative, and Danny Whalen from Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities has agreed to join us. And hopefully we'll have Mr. Fideli's support. And hopefully we'll just do better and get some funding, because without that funding, 3.2 million, of which half of it is ours and half of it is Powassan's. And we've dealt with Powassan in the past, so we definitely need the government funding. So suffice to say, we'll be going down on the 19th and 20th and hopefully hear something after that. And otherwise, if there's any comments or questions, we're here tonight. If anybody has anything to add, and I'll open that, yes.
This was a recommendation. Why can't we derate the bridge?
And open it to what?
They're the engineers, let them figure it out. I mean, one day that bridge is good for 35 tons and the next day it's not safe to drive a bicycle across.
Well, if
There's
you,
5 businesses alone on Slosher Line that are affected. I have hay, 50 acres of hay on the northwest side of that bridge, which I cannot get to now. And that feeds my cattle.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question. You have a rough, not a certain, but a rough idea when whatever bridge you build, when that will be completed?
If the funding comes through.
Well,
You know, whenever,
if the funding came through, they said 3 to 4 months,
3 to 4 months.
but
And when, how long does it take to find out if funding comes through?
that's a good question.
Maybe we have to wait for the next federal election.
Well, the federal government won't give you any money anyway, so you don't have to wait for the federal election. So you have to hope that maybe, on the 20th, maybe they reserve judgment till all the other petitioners have put in their requests. So as he said, 3 to 4 months to build it, but they won't give you a firm number of when the funding is going to happen. Now, the other problem with your question is, we've gone to our lawyer and to the insurance company, and should we open that to any traffic, we are liable for anything that happens. The other day when they were closing the
You were not
bridge,
ordered, you were not ordered to close that bridge. It was a recommendation.
okay, we took the recommendation and talked to our lawyer and our insurance that said, we are liable for anything that could happen if we left that bridge open. And if we open it to, and our suggestion originally was local traffic only.
Yeah.
And then they came back and said, who's gonna police that?
And a license plate reader out on it.
After a triaxle goes through the bridge, it's too late for a reader, okay? And now Nipissing Township is bankrupt because we opened a bridge that wasn't safe. So we are adopting what they have suggested, and all of council agreed that the bridge has to be closed. He said it had to be closed. That was his recommendation. He's an engineer. I'm no engineer. And I'm gonna take his recommendation.
But why is it you cannot get them to engineer it to see what can go over it, what it can carry? Because I'm sure it can carry at least a car over.
Okay, I will state this for one more time. A car comes over, how do we stop a triaxle from coming over? How do you do that? Are you gonna stand out there 24/7? Because I most certainly am not. We can't hire anybody to do that. So we don't have an answer. Their answer is to close the bridge. Because we cannot police it.
Well, I think if you have other emergency situations out there, and because the ambulance and the fire department have a lot further to go, the odds of somebody dying is more greater than somebody falling through that bridge. And you're liable for that too.
Will, if you want to point out that we now, Powassan out of Trout Creek will be doing that side of the bridge. So we're working on it tonight. We'll accept it tonight. A fire agreement that Powassan Fire will be the first call, so they will not have to cross the bridge.
What happens if they have a fire?
They
If
have
the
more,
bridge is posted at a weight limit, let's say it's posted at 5 ton, and some dumb idiot goes across with a triaxle, how can we be held as a township liable if it's posted?
because, would you want to point that out, Chris?
Well, it's called joint and several liability, and therefore we would be found a certain percentage liable because we own the bridge, and therefore we would be the ones to pay because we have the deepest pockets. We've been fighting this with the government for a long time, but that's how it works.
It's just like when a drunk driver hits an abutment and then turns around and sues the township and gets $10 million. And you're gonna say, and I'm gonna say, he was a drunk driver, it shouldn't happen, but that's the way it works. So that's the only answer that we have for you tonight. On your behalf, we will talk to these people and try to get funding, but there's no guarantee.
What's
Yes,
your backup plan?
the backup plan,
If
if
the
there's
federal
never,
government or the provincial government doesn't want to give small town Powassan, population 1,500 people, a share of the money that's for millions of people across Canada, what's your backup plan?
okay, first of all, it's the provincial government we're going to.
Same, okay.
Well, it's a little different
I
and
thought you said it was federal.
provincial.
Okay.
Provincial, Ontario Provincial Highways, so we'll go to them. We'll ask for the money. They will come back with an answer for us, and their answer may be there aren't enough people impacted, so it's not a logical investment on their part. So their backup plan might be that they will not put a bridge in there ever again.
So that's your backup plan, is no bridge and that road is closed for
That-
all of us who have businesses and work and live back there?
That could be what the government
How are we
says.
compensated for that?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Higher taxes will be compensated.
Well, we could, I mean, we could raise taxes.
are so low right now that it's, you know.
Anyway, that's all the answers that we have for you.
So there's no backup plan that's at all? So
Well,
we've known about this for
We
several
could
years,
probably
and you're-
finance it over 50 years,
Okay, why not?
because we have to finance that with Powassan, okay? So we're not sure if they're willing to do that, or if they could do that. And even at that, the government, we might not get financing because they'll say it doesn't affect enough people. So that's what we have to look at.
1910, that's a historical structure, that should get money from someone.
In 1926.
I've seen it up north, actually, up around Matheson, where they have the same type of deal. They wouldn't build a bridge, and one's gotta go around each freaking end. Can't happen there.
Morris has a question.
Yes, Morris?
Yeah, Tom, just a suggestion, did anybody ever approach Hydro One? Because that bridge is there because of that, I know they built it a long time ago, but would they have any funding? Because they do give out money once in a while.
They're included in our delegation report.
Okay, because they're the reason that bridge is there in Berthoud.
Because they built the hydro pond.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So hopefully we can haul them in too and see what they can do, but right now, that's all we've got. We've also, on our, Steve?
Would I be correct in saying that $1 billion top up, that's for small community infrastructure, isn't it?
Yes.
So that $1 billion that we talked about, that the Ontario government is topping up, and it's a program that was out there that had just started last year, and
I
they,
believe it was 2 years.
2 years.
Years ago for Infrastructure renewal.
Yeah, for infrastructure renewal for small communities, and we fall right into that category. And it is for exactly this, so in that respect, we're in better shape than most going into this.
So this isn't something that Toronto will get. It's only for renewal in small rural communities. So we're small and we're rural, you know. Any other questions before we move on?
Was there not counters set up on those roads to, see how much traffic was going over those bridges?
That's why we said 100
Vehicles went over.
150 a day, 75 round trip. We also, on the counter, when you say about the bridge and policing it, the top speed on the bridge was 121 kilometers an hour.
Oh, the top speed or the? did you
The
say-
top speed.
Somebody
That's-
went over that bridge at 121, and there were a few more that went up over it just under that speed.
Oh, they're begging for it.
So that was why one of the recommendations was to make a double span so they could go faster. But we disagreed. So our recommendation, that'll go to Powassan tomorrow. They're, we hope, discussing this tonight,
Tashi's at their meeting now.
and he's at their meeting now. And then hopefully between Powassan and us, we make this presentation and we get funding.
Again, is there no way we can talk to HP Engineering and see if they will allow some sort of traffic over there? I mean, even if you did put a policeman there, I mean, they stand all over the place anyway doing similar things.
Dan, go ahead.
The engineering firm is not gonna put their name to opening that bridge, because then they become liable. It's, like, when we closed that, I was on there before we closed it, and the concrete deck is actually, when a car goes by, it lifts the concrete up. It is really in that bad shape. So the engineering firm will not put their name, their insurance up on that, to let 2 ton go across.
That's a good point though with the hydro, because the hydro pond is high because they want to generate the power there. And that's what's caused the water to be that high, that it's a necessity to put a bridge there. If the hydro pond wouldn't be there. So there
It'd
should
be a
some angle there.
single bridge, you're right. It'd be a single layer. You could have put a Bailey. You wouldn't have to worry about the center structure. So we can certainly,
Yeah, that's part of our delegation report. We'll be looking into it, but this just happened last week where we got the final report, so we're trying to do the best we can in a quick amount of time.
and we did do it, like I said, we did do it 4 years ago. But we may have been too aggressive because we tried to get a whole bridge and another bridge, and we got nothing. So that's why we've taken off the sidewalk. We've got it as bare bones as we can get, and hopefully they'll see the logic, because it will save the government thousands of dollars if they do this. And that's what they're all about. So they have to see that. Dan?
And we've had, the soil testing done on each side of the bridge, so we're ready to go. So if we get funding, there's not gonna be holdups to, oh, we gotta do this testing. We've done all the soil testing to know what soil bearing has, so they can just, start the project.
I was wondering about, because I know, don't I go under fisheries and oceans for some of that environmental assessment? You don't have to-
No, the plan is to put the abundance back further, so we're away from the water.
Right, okay.
Okay,
But, Tom,
yes,
us people on Slusher Line that have businesses there, would it help your delegation when you go down there for us to write anything about how it's affecting our business and all that good stuff?
it would.
It would?
Yes, we would welcome letters from everyone affected, and we'll add them to our delegation
Or
report.
what some
please.
calls to our MVP.
I never know with that if, again, we're on tape, so I never know if we're upsetting him or we're getting his support, you know what I mean? But I don't, I mean, it's a small group, I can't see that it's an issue. So, you know, I would suggest if you think it will help, definitely, you know, call Vic. But I will be talking to him in the near future. Every time we're at something, he'll say, what do you need? I'll say, we need a bridge. And he'll go, yeah, he laughs like you, Mr. Slusher. And then I say, no, we need a bridge. And in our thing, we're trying to get the bridge and also the entire shared road surface done as well, because we're not having a lot of luck with that. So that's in, because that of course leads to the bridge, you know? So we're trying, and I know it's never fast enough, and I apologize for that, but we'll keep you in the loop. If you can write letters and point out that you have 50 acres of crops that, you know, I would suggest you say spoil or are no good because you can't get it there, you know, because the bridge is out. Because we have to prove hardship, and that's the other thing, you know? So that's what we are looking at. I know one person pointed out that it's going to be an extra time to get to the landfill. And I know that those of you that, I think there's only one of you that has your garbage picked up there.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So what we're gonna suggest tonight is Powassan doesn't pick up far away. So we're gonna ask Powassan to pick up those affected people, to pick up your garbage.
Not recycling.
They won't pick up recycling, but they'll pick up your garbage, and the township of Nipissing will foot the bill, if you think that will help. And I mean, it's a small thing, but we know, you know, it's a bad time, and that's one thing we could help with. So if you agree to that, and I see enough of you nodding that you agree to it, that'll be a resolution on our next council meeting, and it'll start after that, which is 2 weeks from now, I believe, because now we have to talk to Powassan and work out. Powassan doesn't do anything for free. No township does, so now we have to work it out with them, but they're always good as long as we pay, and I'm sure they'll let us pay. So other than that, I have nothing to add tonight. I appreciate if you can send those letters in to the township or bring them in, but it's a longer way to go,
Email them,
so.
mail them, bring them in, fax them, however you can get them to us as soon as possible would be better. I'm on a time frame for the delegation report, and I'd like to have it finished by the end of next week to make sure we get everything in that we need. So if I could have those letters, that would be great, please.
Otherwise, council will move on. And you're free to go. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Well, I would, but anyway, you're free to go. And otherwise, we will keep you in the loop. And I thank you for coming tonight. And we'll go on to number 2 on the agenda, which was committee reports. We only met last week. I don't think a lot of us have committee reports, but there are a few, so I will start. We'll go around. Councillor Yam. Councillor Foot.
I do. We have rec committee. We had rec committee last night. We met last night, so it was a good meeting. We raised at the last collection $511.70 from Bottle Drive, which is fantastic. Talking a little about soccer season, we received an amazing donation from soccer in North Bay. Some of the committee members went over yesterday. We kind of got an action plan now to figure out what to do with it. So once we figure out what to do, and then the talk really is about giving it to other people in need. So once we have what we need, we're gonna give it to other people in need, so and spread the love a little bit. Year-end soccer party is June 27th, so a little bit of hot dogs, some chips, some freezies, some water, and just some fun for the kids. We'll have some fun with that. I think we have some good volunteers coming, and we'll have some fun with it. We are starting the Canada Day planning. It's the Canada Day party planning, so that will be on July 1st. More to come, we're just figuring it out now, right? We're just kind of working out the details. So I won't give a lot of details because we're just working them out. We are working on some planning for a Heritage Day breakfast. So that'll be fun. Again, not a lot of details, we're just in the planning stage. I think the exciting one is the trunk sale, fire prevention, community events. So looking to really get some people involved, get the community involved, talking about events throughout the village, a scavenger hunt, a few people to bring in, some extras to bring in. I don't think we've solidified anything yet, have we? But stay tuned because it's gonna be fun.
That's September.
September 14th. And it's really family focused. So which is awesome, and I think people like it. I think that's the big thing. The only other really thing we have is the Commander Community update was just have their new board of directors that
They have them now?
oh no, June 11th.
Okay, June 11th.
June 11th. So, and our next meeting is July 15th. So more details then. We'll be able to
It's on my calendar. Okay, thank you ever so much. Just noticing our soccer is June 27th. That's my anniversary, so I could bring my wife and we can have hot dogs and freezies.
Great anniversary dinner.
I know. I'm looking forward to it.
You could spoil her.
I know, I do indeed. Okay. Counselor Scott, anything?
No, I was back to rec and that's it.
Right? Counselor Curtin?
Nope, that's till tomorrow.
And I have nothing till tomorrow and Friday. So we can move on then. And I'm looking your way and move her to seconder for the minutes. Thank you, Counselor Scott, Counselor Kirky. It's number R 2024-129, moved by Counselor Scott, seconded by Counselor Kirky, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held May 28th, 2024 be adopted as published. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the second on this newsletter. I need to move her into seconder. Okay, thank you. Counselor Yam, Counselor Foot, and corrections have been made, and thank yous to North Bay. Lovely arrows. And it talks about our community town hall on July 17th. Canada Day, of course, Monday the 1st, because we've got government funding and they say you have to have it on the 1st. And James is there and everything else, just information. Great, Kim, I think it's great. And I missed the line, so Will, thank you for that. So it's number R 2024-130, moved by Counselor Yem, seconded by Counselor Foot, that you approve the June 2024 newsletter for circulation as presented. All in favor? Carried. Okay, as mentioned earlier, because of bridge closing, we have to enter into a different automatic aid agreement between the township of Nipissing and the municipality of Powassan. So I need to move her in seconder. Thank you. Counselor Kirky and Counselor Scott. And it was in your package, and if you look at the map, it's just a little yellow line, right, Will? Correct. Okay, so on the bottom, kind of right above the legend. So I'll read this. It's number R 2024-131, moved by Counselor Kirky, seconded by Counselor Scott, We pipe that pot pass. Man, so I've been eating. We passed bylaw number 2024-30, being a bylaw to authorize the entering into an execution of an automatic aid agreement between the Township of Nipissing and the municipality of Powassan. Read a first, second, and third time and passed this 4th day of June 2024. All in favor? This will be forwarded to Powassan as well.
CBAs.
Okay,
So there was the staff report, and there was the draft resolution, if that's what council would like to do.
right. Okay, so the next one, and you all got your staff report from Chief Bateman about the SCBA's. The unit's no longer in use for the Township of Nipissing Fire Department. And council options. The total price of the 12 CBA's now is between $500 and $700. One option is to put it on Gov Deals and then sell it. They should pick it up, or we might have to drive it someplace, or we would lose money. Or donate the surplus units and additional cylinders to the Township of Bonfield, who right now have done the same as we have, ordered theirs, but don't have any, so they're waiting. Last year, we sold the truck to Chisholm to help our neighbors out when their truck went down. So as a council, we can do option 1 or 2. Any comments, questions?
2.
I was thinking 1, simply because we've done this in the past where helped out another fire department and they've helped us out down the road. And it's kind of a,
Isn't that what option 2 is, to help?
no, option 2 is
No.
selling them on Gov Deals.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was read second.
Okay, so
Yeah, I
no,
probably
donate
read
it.
it differently.
Okay, did you read it that way?
I read
Okay.
it that one, and then, yeah, sorry.
That's okay, I thought it was. Yeah, donate it.
so, yeah, okay.
Donate.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Dave.
Okay, and we will pick option 1. A mover and seconder, okay, thank you. Councillor Foot, Councillor Yim. It's number R 2024-132, moved by Councillor Foot, seconded by Councillor Yim. The council receives a staff report received from the fire chief, MLEO CEMC, regarding decommissioning and disposal of surplus SCBA units. And we authorize option 1, donating the surplus units, excess cylinders and excess mass and parts to the Township of Bonfield Fire Department on a as is, where is basis. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the next one is just an updated appointment procedure for filling vacancy on council as attached. The only thing that was added is
A numbered structure.
a numbered structure, so everybody will know, and that question from
And
the
a
mayor.
question from council as a whole, we would have some already set up if we got to that point, if they hadn't been asked
If we
already.
go to a second round.
Yeah.
And that's all. It's just to have this clear and transparent. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Mover and seconder, thank you, Councillor Scott and Councillor Kirky. It's number R 2024-133, moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Kirky, that we approve the updated appointment procedure for filling vacancy on council as attached. All in favor? Carried. Correspondence. Thank you again, Kim.
Absolutely.
Now this correspondence this time came from Phenom, and probably you guys heard about it when you were there. It may or may not ever affect us, but it's already affecting East Ferris, and they said that there would never be gas or natural gas in East Ferris, and now there's a line going to East Ferris. And Phenom is suggesting that we should support this only because as communities get natural gas, it just opens more opportunities. It, again, may never come all this way to us, but by supporting it, we are showing that, like other municipalities, we agree with, you know, having natural gas in municipalities where accessible. Any comments, questions? We good with that? Okay.
Okay, next agenda.
So we'll put that on the next agenda. Otherwise, I need a mover and a seconder to accept the correspondence. Thank you, Councillor Kirky. Councillor Scott. It's number 2024-134, moved by Councillor Kirky, seconded by Councillor Scott, that we accept the correspondence as presented. All in favor? Carried. Cuts down on the correspondence when you meet every week.
I make no promises for 2 weeks from now.
I'll make some promises. Okay. Statement of accounts. I know you all had this beforehand. It's not even a long page, again, for a week. The one for 30 May, I'd just like you to look at the third one down there. Statement of claim. That's just what it's costing us. And as we pointed out earlier, there's yesterday's, so there'll be more after that. So anyway, a mover and a seconder, or any comments or questions first, anything? Sorry, I jumped the gun. Okay, mover and seconder, Councillor PM. Councillor Flint. It's number R 2024-135, moved by Councillor Yem, seconded by Councillor Foot, that the statement of accounts dated May 28th, 29th, and 30th, 2024 totaling $111,845.53 be approved. In favor? Carried. Confirming bylaw. I'm looking to that side. Councillor Scott, Councillor Kirky, thank you. Number R 2024-136, moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Kirky, that we pass bylaw number 2024-31, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on June 4th, 2024, read the first, second, and third time, and passed this 4th day of June, 2024. All in favor? Carried. Last but not least, and I'm looking your way, Councillor Scott and Councillor Kirky, thank you again. It's number R 2024-137, moved by Councillor Kirky, seconded by Councillor Scott, that the meeting be adjourned at 7 what?
29.
Okay. The clock doesn't agree. At 7:29 PM, next regular meeting to be held June 18th, 2024. All in favor? Carried. hopefully we'll have something on that delegation that we can share by then.
That's pretty close, because it doesn't close till the 24th.